First story. My daughter got suspended from school for defending herself from a bully. So I grounded her and ripped her apology letters, and ignored my son's warning of his sister's self-harm attempts. Now she has attempted self-harm. Everyone has abandoned me, and I regret my actions. I 40M have 2 kids, my son 15M and daughter 12F. I work full-time in a high-pressure IT job where even a few missed hours can set me back or put me in a bad light with management. My wife 39F works part-time, but most of the discipline stuff tends to fall on me. Not sure why. That's just how it's been for the last decade or so. My daughter's always been a sensitive kid, really expressive with her feelings. When she was 5, she did something I honestly can't even remember what, and I got mad and sent her to her room. A couple of hours later, I went to check on her and found her drawing just a crayon drawing of the 2 of us holding hands inside a big heart with the word "Daddy" written above it. She gave me a hug and told me she was sorry. It really hit me in the gut. I wasn't used to that kind of apology, especially not from a 5-year-old. And yeah, I hugged her back and told her it was okay. But that kind of set the pattern. Anytime she got in trouble, whether it was fighting with her brother, not doing homework, being rude, or breaking something, she'd go off and write a letter or draw a picture. Always some kind of emotional, "I'm sorry" message, sometimes with stickers, sometimes folded into an origami heart or slipped under my door like she was in a spy movie. It was cute for a few years, but she never really grew out of it. I tried to be patient, but around the time she turned 10, I told her point blank that she needed to stop doing that. It wasn't healthy. If she was sorry, she should just come to us and talk about it and take accountability like a growing person. Not write notes like she was still in preschool, hoping to be let off the hook with a drawing. She nodded but didn't stop. Just did it less often. I'll be honest, I don't think I'm an emotionally cold father, but I am tired. I'm tired most days. Between work, bills, handling discipline, and constantly being the bad guy, I don't have much energy left. My daughter is a good kid most of the time, but she has this stubbornness in her that clashes with my son's temper, and the 2 of them are constantly at each other's throats lately. The teenage years are hitting hard. 3 weeks ago, she got caught lying about a school project. Said it was done, it wasn't. Teachers emailed us. We grounded her and took her laptop for the weekend. She responded by writing this 2-page letter about how she wasn't trying to be dishonest. She just didn't want to disappoint us, and how sorry she was. My wife said it was touching. I told her she needed to stop hiding behind letters and learn how to just come talk to us. I thought we were making progress. But then came this week. Wednesday, I got a call at work around noon. My daughter had gotten into a fight at school. Apparently, another girl had been bullying her for a while. She'd reported it a few times, but apparently nothing had been done. This time the girl threw food at her during lunch. My daughter snapped and punched her in the face. It turned into a full-on scuffle. Now, to be clear, I understand why she reacted. I'm not mad that she defended herself, but this is the 3rd school incident we've had to deal with this year alone. And I got called out of work again to come deal with it. I had to leave a live client call to get her, and it screwed up my entire day. My manager didn't say anything outright, but I could tell it wasn't good. By the time we got home, I was drained. She sat in the passenger seat, arms folded, silent. She wasn't crying, just stiff and defiant. I told her I wasn't going to argue about it in the car. We got home, and I told her she was grounded, no phone, no internet, no sleepovers this weekend. She rolled her eyes, but didn't say anything. That silence somehow made me even more pissed than if she'd yelled at me. I took her phone and told her she could get it back on Monday. She slammed her door, but didn't scream or throw anything, just stayed in her room. I spent the rest of the afternoon catching up on work emails and trying to do damage control with the team. Around 7 p.m., I went upstairs to get changed and saw something slid halfway under the door to my room. I already knew what it was. A goddamn letter. I picked it up. It was short, less than a page. In her usual slightly messy handwriting, she wrote that she was sorry for making me leave work again. That she didn't want to fight, but felt like she didn't have a choice, and she understood that I was disappointed. She said she didn't want me to be mad at her, and that she was trying to learn how not to make everything worse. And I just snapped. I don't know if it was the wording or the fact that it felt like she was trying to soften the blow again with another one of her letters, instead of just owning up to her actions, but I ripped it in half without even thinking. I walked straight to her room, knocked once, and when she opened the door, I let her have it. I told her I was sick of these stupid notes, that she wasn't 5 anymore. And this wasn't some Disney movie where a drawing fixes everything. I said she needed to grow up and take responsibility like a young adult. That if she wanted to be treated with more maturity, she needed to stop acting like a toddler trying to apologize with stickers and scribbled words. She just stood there, stone-faced, until I was done. Then she looked at me, and I swear, I've never seen her face that cold before, and said, "Just leave." So I did. I went back to my room and shut the door. I didn't feel better, just more tired. Maybe 15 minutes later, my wife came in. She looked annoyed but calm. Asked what happened. We said our daughter was crying in her room. I told her everything. She just sighed and said I was too harsh. That our daughter wasn't trying to manipulate anyone, she was just doing what she's always done. Said the letter wasn't about avoiding punishment. It was her way of expressing remorse. That this is how she processes things when she doesn't know how to talk. I told her I've been telling her for years that she needs to talk. That the letters don't solve anything. They let her dodge real conversations. I'm not asking for perfect emotional maturity. I just want her to stop hiding behind a piece of paper and expecting it to make everything better. My wife pushed back. She said it wasn't hiding. It was communicating the only way she knows how when she's overwhelmed. That I'm expecting her to handle emotions like an adult when she's barely 12. And that if I keep punishing her for trying to express herself, she's going to stop expressing anything at all. I didn't answer. I was too pissed to argue without saying something worse. So I stayed quiet. My wife left and said she talked to our daughter. That was 2 days ago. My daughter's been mostly silent since then. She doesn't avoid me, but she's not the same. Eyes down when I talk to her. Short answers. No notes, no drawings, just distance. I don't know if I went too far. I don't think I yelled for no reason. I was already overwhelmed from work. The school issue added more stress. And this letter felt like one more attempt to bypass a real conversation with a half apology she didn't want to say out loud. And I know some people think letters are sweet or thoughtful, but after years of the same thing, they feel mechanical. Predictable. Like she thinks a nice paper with "sorry" written on it will erase consequences or tension. It doesn't. Some context. Last year, she broke her brother's headphones during an argument. When we confronted her, she denied it, then wrote a note that said, "I didn't mean to lie, I just panicked." Again, no actual conversation. Just a note under the door. Another time she failed math because she was secretly skipping assignments. Instead of talking, she left a folded letter saying, "I know I disappointed you again, and I'm sorry you have to deal with me." My wife called that one heartbreaking. I found it manipulative. Not intentionally, maybe, but the end result is always the same. Emotional appeal instead of direct accountability. The tears, the sadness, the guilt tripping, and I'm expected to play therapist, forgive, and move on. I'm not wired that way. I didn't grow up in a house where apologies were delivered with glitter pens and sad poems. You messed up, you owned it, and you learned from it. This feels like emotional outsourcing. But I get it. She's a kid. A lot of Reddit's going to say she's young, she's trying, and I should be grateful she cares enough to write anything at all. That I should meet her where she is emotionally. I've heard it all from my wife. I do try. But I'm also human. I hit a breaking point, and I don't feel like ripping up a letter and telling her the truth about what I expect from her makes me abusive or cruel. It just means I need her to start taking steps towards actually communicating with us, not just drawing hearts or writing that she's a disappointment, so we feel bad and drop the subject. My wife thinks I broke something in her with how I reacted. That maybe she won't come to me anymore. If that's true, I hate it. But I also think it's time someone drew a line, instead of pretending these notes are still sweet and harmless. She's not 5 anymore. She's almost a teenager. She needs to start developing tools to actually talk, not retreat to childhood habits when something goes wrong. So Reddit, Ada. Comments. Comment 1. YTA. And I say that without sugarcoating it. You sound exhausted, but instead of addressing the root of that, your job, your role as the default disciplinarian, the imbalance in parenting, you dumped it all on your daughter for writing you a piece of paper saying, "I'm sorry." You tore it up and lit into her for the one thing she's clearly learned helps her regulate her emotions. She didn't write a note saying, "I'm sorry I got suspended." She apologized for making your day harder, which, yeah, might not be what you wanted to hear, but it shows self-awareness. She knows you're under pressure. That's not manipulation. That's a kid watching her parents suffer and blaming herself for it. Also, stop acting like she's submitting these letters to HR to dodge accountability. She's a 12-year-old trying to deal with conflict without escalating things further. And she did talk to you when you were pissed. She opened the door when you knocked. You blew up anyway. Your wife's not wrong. You didn't just reject a note. You told her the only coping tool she's ever trusted was childish and worthless. That'll stick. Don't be shocked if she shuts down emotionally after this. Comment 2. Absolutely YTA. Jesus. Dude, are you hearing yourself? She got suspended because she finally hit back after being tormented at school. She comes home, loses her phone, gets grounded, and instead of throwing a tantrum, she writes an apology. Not to manipulate you. Not to dodge punishment. She apologized for making your life harder. That's heartbreaking. That's a kid carrying SHT she shouldn't have to carry. And you tore it. Right in her face. Then screamed at her like she killed your dog. You didn't discipline her. You emotionally nuked her for trying to handle things the only way she knows how. Then you waltz into Reddit like, was I too harsh? You weren't harsh. You were cruel. Unreasonably, unnecessarily cruel. I hope you realize that next time she wants to express herself, she's not sliding a letter under your door. She's sealing the effing door shut. Comment 3. I think there's a bigger issue here. And no, I don't think you're an irredeemable but you're handling this like your kid's some intern who messed up at work. That act like a young adult thing. She's 12. You're demanding a level of emotional processing she's just not built for yet. And tearing up the note. That wasn't discipline, that was anger management failure on your end. What's more concerning is the pattern. You framed this like she uses apology letters as manipulation. But what I see is a kid trying to reach you. You didn't say she was faking remorse. You said it feels mechanical, probably because you've emotionally checked out of parenting her, and now everything looks like a stunt. She's trying. Badly, maybe, but still trying. And you're dismissing it because it doesn't meet your standards of what maturity should look like. If this keeps going, your daughter won't be someone who writes apology letters. She'll be someone who stops apologizing at all. And I guarantee that'll be a bigger problem than this ever was. Update. It's been 3 weeks since I posted. I didn't plan to come back, but a lot has happened. And I don't mean things are tense, I mean everything blew up. After the letter incident, things stayed cold. My daughter barely spoke to me. My son avoided me. My wife was civil but distant. I figured they'd get over it. That didn't happen. About a week later, my daughter's school counselor called. Said she wanted to check in about something unusual. Apparently, my daughter had been writing regular letters not to me, but to her English teacher. Real letters every couple of days about how she was feeling, about life at home. I didn't know any of this. The counselor said the teacher hadn't reported them before because they weren't alarming, just reflective. But my daughter had referenced me, not wanting to hear her words, and saying, writing is the only way I can be honest without getting punished. When I confronted her, she didn't even deny it. Just said, you don't read what I say, you rip it up. I told her she needed to stop trying to be clever, she wasn't smarter than me, and she needed to stay within her limits. She just nodded and walked away. Later that night, my son exploded. We were eating dinner. I asked him to pass something, and he slammed it down and said, no one effing talks at this table unless you let them, right? Even when she's being bullied and breaking down, you make it about you. He stood up, pointed right at me and said, you're the reason she feels like garbage. You're the reason she's scared to breathe wrong. Then he left the house. He stayed out late. My wife didn't speak to me for the rest of the night. The next day, I made a decision that I admit was fueled by ego. I was sick of the school brushing off my daughter's bullying claims, and I wanted to confront the source. I showed up at the bully's house unannounced. Her parents came to the door. I told them their daughter had been tormenting mine for months, and they needed to get control of her. The father laughed, said my daughter was dramatic and weird with her creepy notes, and accused her of hitting his kid for attention. I lost it. I shoved him back into the doorway. Not a punch, just a shove, but that was enough. They called the police. I was arrested for misdemeanor assault. I've been ordered to attend court-mandated anger management and pay a fine. I spent a night in a holding cell. My wife didn't bail me out. My brother did. When I got home, things got worse. My daughter had destroyed my work laptop, the one I use daily. She'd taken it out of my office and thrown it down the stairs. Didn't say a word about it. I yelled. She didn't flinch. My wife told me to leave her alone. That night, my son came into my room and told me he thought she was hurting herself. He said he'd seen her drawing dark things, not monsters or edgy stuff, but pages with scribbled words like, I ruin everything. I want to disappear. And, I'm sorry for existing. He showed me a notebook he'd taken from her desk. It had an unfinished letter titled, Reasons Why I'm a Problem. That's when I panicked. I went into her room. She wasn't there. I found a folded note on my desk that just said, "Sorry." I opened it thinking it was another apology. It wasn't. It was a goodbye letter. She said she was tired. That she didn't want to be an emotional burden. That she hoped one day we'd breathe easier without her messing everything up. The bathroom door was locked. We had to break it down. She was still conscious, thank God. I won't go into the details. We called 911. She was hospitalized. She survived. She's still in the psych ward now. The doctors did a full evaluation and flagged emotional neglect in their report. They noted her history of self-blame, emotional suppression, and self-harming ideation. CPS is involved. They've visited our home twice. They've spoken to my son, my wife, and me separately. The hospital told us she won't be released unless we agree to mandatory family therapy. But, and here's the part I didn't expect, not all of us can participate right now. I've been barred from the initial sessions. The therapist said I'm a contributing factor to her emotional instability and may re-traumatize her progress. So they're starting without me. My wife is allowed. My son is allowed. I'm not. She doesn't want to see me. She made that clear. I'm allowed to send letters, but they'll be screened. She hasn't written me back. Then came the final blow. Last weekend, we had a family meeting with CPS and a hospital social worker. I tried to explain my side. That I wasn't cruel. I was just trying to toughen her up. That I didn't think her drawings and letters were healthy coping tools. That I was under pressure. That she was making herself a target with the way she acted. And I said, she probably made herself a target. Kids don't bully for no reason. She isolates herself and writes weird notes instead of just being normal. My wife looked at me like I'd slapped her. She stood up and said, "That's it. You're done." The social worker said nothing. My son stormed out. My wife filed for separation 2 days later. She asked me to leave the house. Right now, I'm living at my brother's. I've lost temporary custody. I can't see my daughter unsupervised. My son isn't speaking to me. My wife and daughter are living with her parents while things settle. CPS will reassess in a month. And I don't know what to say anymore. I didn't think I was abusive. I thought I was pushing my daughter to be stronger, to stop hiding behind paper. But I destroyed her outlet. I ignored every warning. I pushed until she broke. I don't know if there's a way back from this. I don't know if I deserve one. I just wanted to raise someone who could handle life. Instead, I may have been the one she needed protection from. Comments. Comment 1. Jesus. You bulldozed every warning sign this kid ever gave you. And now you're surprised the whole house is on fire. She didn't just write letters. Man, she was trying to cope in the only way she knew how. You called it childish, weak, embarrassing. And now she's in a psych ward and won't speak to you. Here's what pisses me off the most. You still tried to blame her in front of professionals by saying she brought it on herself. Like, are you kidding me? That was your last chance to take responsibility. And you doubled down like it was her fault for being a bullied, isolated kid who writes notes instead of acting normal. The way you kept policing her emotions instead of parenting her is insane. You turned her apology letters into proof of failure instead of cries for help. You humiliated her, mocked her coping, and tore it apart in front of her face. I'm not shocked she snapped. I'm shocked she lasted this long. Comment 2. Everyone's going to rightfully flame you for what you did to your daughter. And yeah, you absolutely f***ed this up beyond words, but your wife. She needs some accountability too. She stood by for years while this dynamic played out. You said it yourself. She was patient, civil, and distant. That's passive enabling. You didn't become the monster overnight. You were the bad cop for over a decade, and she let it happen as long as it didn't cause a scene. That doesn't excuse your behavior at all, but you didn't build this mess alone. The most tragic part here is your son. He tried. He screamed it in your face that your daughter was cracking. He brought you the notebook. He begged you to see what was happening. You ignored it. Now he's probably dealing with guilt for not doing more, even though it was never his job. That kid lost a father and watched his sister nearly die in the same week. You've got a long road ahead. Don't waste it blaming people for not being normal. Start by not being you anymore. Update. It's been almost 2 years since everything fell apart. I didn't come back earlier because I spent most of that time trying to stay functional enough not to completely self-destruct. But I guess I owe a final update, if only to end this thread properly. My divorce was finalized 14 months ago. Joint legal custody was discussed, but due to the CPS findings, I lost physical custody entirely. My ex-wife now was granted full custody. I was given supervised visitation rights only, but my daughter refused every attempt at it. Her therapist supported her decision, and I legally couldn't force any contact. Eventually, I stopped requesting sessions because watching her refuse to even look in my direction broke something in me more each time. My son, who turned 16 during all of this, cut me off soon after the separation. He told the CPS worker in front of me that talking to me made his chest feel tight. That was the last time he voluntarily spoke directly to me. I don't know where he lives now. I only know he moved with his mom and sister to a different city closer to her parents 6 months after the divorce. The case with the bully's parents ended in a plea deal. I agreed to pay damages, complete anger management, which I did, and got a misdemeanor assault on my record. I avoided jail time, but I now have it on every background check. My job let me go shortly after that. They cited company image and conduct-related concerns. I fought it, but no one fought with me. I was unemployed for 8 months. Between legal fees, child support, supervised visitation fees at the mediation center, I barely got to use, mandatory therapy costs, and back payments, I ended up selling my car and moving into a small one-bedroom apartment near an industrial area. I eventually found another job, a lower-paying IT support role. It's stable, but it's not what I used to have. I go to work, log tickets, fix people's problems, then go home to silence. Here's something I never said out loud until therapy. I used to think emotional pain was weakness. I used to think my daughter hiding in letters was running away from reality. But after losing my job, my home, my marriage, my kids, and the respect of everyone who once saw me as dependable, I finally felt that same panic she probably felt every time I tore a letter or told her to act normal. Sometimes I wake up sweating because in my dreams, I'm standing outside a locked bathroom door again. Only this time nobody is there to open it. And nobody calls 911. I can't stand loud sounds now. They make my chest seize. I don't yell anymore. I barely talk. I used to think she was soft. Turns out I was just blind to her breaking, because I couldn't accept that I might be the one causing the cracks. I regret a lot. But 3 things haunt me the most. She asked me for help without using words I approved of, and I punished her for it. My son told me she was in danger, and I dismissed him because I thought I knew everything. My wife begged me to slow down before I shattered her, and I acted like authority mattered more than empathy. I had a family that was emotionally bleeding right in front of me, and I kept yelling at them to stop making a mess. For over a year, I had 0 contact with my daughter. But 6 weeks ago, a letter arrived in my mailbox. No return address, but I recognized the handwriting immediately. For a moment, I froze because part of me thought it might be another goodbye letter. My brain still goes there sometimes. It wasn't. It wasn't an apology. It wasn't a warm-hearted reconnection either. It was 3 short paragraphs. She said she had been diagnosed with depression and anxiety, but was doing better now. She said she was in trauma-based therapy and that she was safe. She said she was not ready to see me and didn't know if she ever would be. She said, "You broke a safe place I tried to make for myself when I was scared. I understand now that you were not safe to go to. I'm still angry. I'm still hurt. But I don't hate you. I just can't be near you without feeling small again." She ended it with, "I hope you are getting help too." I read it 10 times. I folded it carefully and kept it in my desk drawer. I haven't responded. I don't think she wants a reply yet. Maybe never. I am respecting that. There's no dramatic reconciliation here. My ex-wife does not speak to me beyond legal email channels. There is no, "we're working on it." I don't have grand statements of redemption. I have therapy twice a week. I go to work. I cook small meals for one person. I sleep with the lights on some nights because darkness brings memories. Sometimes I wonder if I even deserve love after I crushed the love that was freely given to me by my kid when she drew me in a heart at 5 years old. But I'm trying to understand now, empathy doesn't come after someone earns it. It's what you give so they can grow strong. I demanded strength from a child who was begging for safety. Now I live with the absence of the very letters I once tore up because they felt childish. I'd give anything to get another one, even just to say goodbye the right way. Comments. Comment 1. This right here is why I was just trying to make them tough. Is the most cowardly parenting excuse on earth. You weren't building resilience, you were breaking spirit. Your kid was begging you in her own way to make space for her, and you kept calling it weakness. Now you finally feel what she did. And yeah, it's miserable, right? The silence, the shame, the isolation. She grew up thinking love had to be earned by being small enough to not piss you off. That letter she sent wasn't an opening. It was a boundary. You should take it as mercy that she even gave you that. You could have been a safe place. Instead, you were her first lesson in emotional danger. Let that sit. Comment 2. I'm not going to dogpile. You already live in the wreckage, and I think you finally get it. What hits me the hardest is that your daughter still offered truth in that letter. Not hatred. Not cruelty. Just her truth, and that's the strongest thing she could have done. She built a boundary where you tore down her sense of self. And your son, he tried to warn you. Tried to stand in front of the train before it hit her. And you shoved him aside because he made you uncomfortable. You didn't just fail your daughter. You failed your son too. And your wife. But you're still alive. Still breathing. You owe it to every one of them not to waste that breath trying to win them back, but to make sure you never become that man again. Comment 3. Here's the thing. You were so goddamn busy trying to control the narrative in your home that you missed the actual story happening right under your nose. You weren't a father. You were a effing warden. And what gets me is how hard your kids fought to keep loving you, and you punished them for it. The notes, the warnings, the meltdowns, they weren't disobedience. They were desperate. You had years to get it right. They only had one childhood. You're not a monster. But you were the villain in theirs. And now you have to live knowing that when they needed a shield, you were the sword. Second story. My boyfriend of 7 years didn't have the balls to break up with me. He told his family we broke up 4 months ago and started a new relationship. And he told me he was meeting his grandparents when they died 2 years ago. So I ghosted him and wiped out from his life like I never existed. I 27F just found out my boyfriend 29M of 7 years cheated on me. My boyfriend went to his and our home state to see his family for the weekend. He's been going quite often this year, about once a month, saying it is because his grandparents are old and miss him. I thought nothing of it until this morning. I got a screenshot from a mutual friend of ours of my boyfriend's location on Snapchat. He was at his parents' house, but a girl's Bitmoji was there as well. It wasn't his sister or mum, and his parents, who weirdly also have Snapchat, weren't home either. He didn't tell me he was going to be with anyone else today. I tried to call him, but he did not pick up. I looked on Snapchat, and his location was turned off. The mutual friend says my boyfriend has told everyone at home we broke up 4 months ago. He said my boyfriend was making him stay quiet about it because he was trying to find the right time to tell me. As far as his parents know, he's moving home once our lease is up. The reason our mutual friend told me was because he walked in on my boyfriend and the girl hooking up with each other this morning. I texted an old friend who lives in my hometown, and she immediately asked why my boyfriend was on Tinder. We caught up, and she sent me proof of his photos on Tinder and his bio. It hurt to see that photos I took of him were used. He had even covered my face in a photo we took together and said, "This could be you." I had no idea his family thought we were broken up, and that he was looking for other people to date. We even went to Italy a month ago celebrating our 7-year anniversary. I'm so confused, and I don't know what to do. I look around, and everything in our apartment seems like a lie. The soon-to-be ex texted me just now, and he is on his flight back. He'll be back in about 5 hours. Obviously, he can find his own way to the apartment from the airport. I'm shocked and numb, but my best friend is with me, helping me pack up all my clothes. I'm leaving, and I'm not leaving a trace of myself behind. Our dog is coming with me, and I'll be staying at my best friend's place for now. My soon-to-be ex and I already have separate bank accounts, and our joint bank account does not have much in it right now. I make more than he does, so he can keep it. I can't go to the leasing office because it's closed on Sundays, but I sent an email asking for early termination on the lease. We're registered as domestic partners, so I've completed the termination form and will drive it up to the Lehigh County office tomorrow. He is on my health insurance, and I've sent the email to HR to kick him off ASAP. We have several large photo albums together, and I'm not sure what to do with those. Keeping them would be too difficult, but I don't want him to have the satisfaction of having our photos. It's clear he uses our memories in a horrible way. Is there anything I'm missing? I can't seem to think of anything, and all my thoughts seem so jumbled. Nothing makes sense, but I know I can't stay. Any help to ghost a person this close to my heart would be appreciated. Update. Thank you everyone for all the solid advice. I'm compiling everything I did in this first section, so if others need a way to cut contact with a person, they can reference this. As mentioned in the comments, I logged myself out of our Apple TV and Xbox. I canceled the Wi-Fi that I paid for and returned the modem to the carrier. I took my payment information for utilities off our account. I packed up all my sauces, spices, and cooking oils and took note to only leave dried rosemary behind. He hates that SHT. I printed out and framed the screenshot of his Tinder profile and left it on the kitchen table. I closed a piece of dog poop into the frame as well. I'll keep the photo albums. He can have this. I took a video of the entire apartment after packing up all my things. I left my keys in the mailbox for the leasing office and emailed the leasing office of my departure with the videos of what the apartment looked like prior to locking up. I updated my address for the USPS, vet, hospital, school, work, and my dog's chip. I talked to HR and am in the process of getting him off of my health insurance, changing the beneficiary of my life insurance to my parents. If only I could name my dog, and emergency contact. I'm going to the bank to take myself off the joint bank account. Fortunately, I'm not worried about my credit, as all of our finances have stayed separate, but I'm grateful to those who told me to freeze my credit. I logged out of all devices for all streaming services, social media, and my work, personal, and school email. I blocked him on all social media, chat rooms, and his phone number. I made a doctor's appointment to get STD tested. I'm on my way to an appointment with the county office to terminate our domestic partnership. It's been an incredibly busy 18 hours, but I've had a lot of help from my friends. I haven't been able to sleep either. As far as what happened since he arrived, here's what's up. I already blocked him before he landed. I received many texts and calls from his parents and sister that I did not see. Then, when I noticed his sister calling, I picked up. At first, the call was hostile. She accused me of being some crazy ex-girlfriend that couldn't let her brother go. Funny, since I just packed up and left. She brought up that it had been 4 months, and that I needed to move on. I told her that the ex never approached me about breaking up, and that 1 month ago, we celebrated our 7th anniversary and started to plan our wedding. I had no indication he even wanted to break up. We reset a bit, and she allowed me to tell her my side of the story. I told her he was somewhat distant this year, but he had blamed it on their grandparents being old and wanting to spend more time with them before they die. Turns out, their grandparents have been dead for 2 years. I never met them because my ex claimed they were super racist since the grandpa was a Vietnam War vet. I'm Asian. Turns out, you can't be racist when you're dead. We ended the call on a positive note, with his sister saying that it was a lot to take in. She said she felt bad, as the girl he was cheating on me with was one of her friends. She had introduced them to each other sometime last year when my ex was apparently unhappy with our relationship. They hit it off, and he was supposed to break it off with me. I guess he never had the balls to do so. She was also confused as to why he was on Tinder, as he was in a relationship with her friend. I sent her all the Tinder receipts after hanging up. Later in the night, I received an email from the ex. To sum it up, yes, he asked me to come to the apartment to talk it out. No, he did not apologize for anything. He ended the email with, "I love you." As far as I know, he doesn't know where I am. I also don't believe he knows where my friend lives, as she just moved, and he hasn't been here yet. He also doesn't seem like that type of person, but I guess I didn't really know him after all. We'll keep locks ready and bats near the door. It's been so helpful just writing out everything that's happened so far. But all of your advice, support, and guidance in this situation have empowered me to leave. At times, I just wanted to stop packing and hope that when he came home, everything would go back to normal and the text would just be a distant memory. Your words of encouragement have really helped me follow through and leave. Nothing good would have come from staying. Thank you all again. Edit. Sorry, I was unclear about the timeline. The parents and sister called me about 2 hours after he landed. I assume it was because he got home, realized the person paying half his rent will no longer be doing so, and reached out to his family. The dog poop may have contributed to the heightened emotions. Comments by OP. I was able to do it all in less than a day. I got 3 of my friends to move stuff out of a 500 square feet apartment. So it's not like I had much to move. And not that I have everything completely finished, I'm still waiting to hear back on HR stuff and bank stuff. But do you guys really think sending out emails and changing passwords and making appointments is that hard? Because that's like 8 of the 13 things that were done online in the middle of the night. And the poop prank took maybe 10 minutes. And I slept maybe an hour on the drive home from the county office. So yeah, I had a lot of time. I don't know. I think I took like $300 of spices, oils, sauces, and just everyday cooking stuff. Now that things are starting to settle down, I can feel a lot of sadness starting to creep in. Maybe it's for him, but I know it's partially for the future I had seen for myself for so long. Now, I feel like I don't know what direction forward is, and I feel a bit lost. Someone had suggested counseling therapy, and before this adrenaline fully leaves, I'll try to schedule that because I'm sure it'll help. I suppose the good thing about not having to plan for a wedding anymore is that I have more money for Lady Gaga tickets. Haha. Honestly. Shout out to my dog for SHTing at the perfect time to press it into the picture frame. He really was there when I needed him most. Thank you for watching the video. If you are interested in listening to these kinds of stories, we've got more in store for you. Simply subscribe to our channel, hit the like button, and share it with your friends.